Hello again, and welcome to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. My name is Randy Cook, and each week, Jay and I sit down here and talk through some of the issues of retirement, and I'll bet some of the things that we talk about might be some of the things that you're thinking about. So if that's the case, we make available to you a no-cost, no-obligation look at your retirement just to sit down and talk about your concerns. We'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Randy. I'm ready for summer to be over. It wasn't so bad there for a while. We had here May and June and a lot of July. It was warm, but it was quite pleasant. And then August, just like a freight train, yeah.
But the kids are back in school and all of that, and that's of course bringing all the germs home. And I guess you caught a little bit of that, huh?
Yeah, I did. I'll power through this one, but
all right.
It comes with the territory.
You got it. Okay, well, let's dive in then. One of the things that people do as they get toward retirement is, for some reason, all of a sudden you become a market watcher. You're starting to look at that money go up and down, and actually right now we're doing pretty good. This has been a pretty good year. It's been a pretty good streak that we're going through. And so you look at yourself and you say, the old saying, when is the best time to take a profit? When there is one. So if you look at this stock market since 2009, we are up 1,100%. Okay, so
isn't that bananas?
It's insane. It really is. Sooner or later, this is going to come to an end. But this is one of those times when you look at yourself in the mirror and you look at your financial advisor and say, is this the time to take a little bit of this money off the table, push it over toward maybe the safer ledger, as we say, and use it for retirement? So I want to find out, as people come to you right now, are they saying, Jay, help me squeeze just a little bit more out of the market? Or are they backing off and saying, you know what, this is probably a good time for me to set some of this aside? What are you hearing right now?
Yeah, it's funny. After doing this for decades, what you see, and there's a couple of points I'll touch on, and it's, how are your investments allocated? And we'll talk about, how much risk should you really be taking in retirement anyway? But what's funny about these times is when everything's good like this, 23, 24, 25, so far, 26, right? Everyone becomes an aggressive investor. Oh, yeah, I can take the risk. Well, yeah, it's easy to say that. Like, I kind of liken it to, I don't know if I'm going to embarrass myself here or people will identify with this. I need to lose about 20 pounds, right? And after I've just had a big, delicious meal, it's like, yeah, this will be easy. I'll just eat less. Well, I'm full. Yeah, I feel fine. Of course it's easy to say that then. Wait till you get hungry and see what you'll do.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like that with investing, right? It's, when everything's going great, everyone's an aggressive investor. And the opposite is true as well. The most recent one I can think of is 2022. Kind of stands out like a sore thumb in the last 10 years or so, right? Of the markets where we were down, I think it was 22% on the S&P. And, I have to have the opposite conversation at that point where I'm a more conservative investor. No, you're really not. It's just things kind of stink right now. And that's how you feel, right? But the bigger question with this, and we talk about it a lot on the show, is, are you trying to time the markets? Is that what this is about? Because if you're worried every day about your investments and you're worried about a 5 or 10% correction, is it because you don't have anything else allocated to something safe? And that's why every day you're kind of on edge, like, oh, like what happened today? I would suggest that if you're that concerned about every move, you might want to recheck how you're actually invested. Yeah. I've shared this story, like just timing the markets, it just never works. I've shared this story several times on the show, and probably any of the regular listeners will be like, not this story again. But it's such an important lesson to learn, right? Back in 2025, late March, early April, right? That's where all the Trump tariff stuff was starting to hit the markets,
in
right?
April, yeah.
And we just it stunk. I get it. There was like back-to-back 5, 6, 7% down days. And we had a client at the time. He's not a client anymore because I think he was embarrassed about kind of the way he reacted, and our attitude was kind of like, hey man, if you're going to do this, we can't help you, and we don't want to help you continue to fail, right? He got nervous, and man, I'm trying to remember the date now. As time progresses, I think it was April 8th was like the crescendo of this. So it was like, on a Thursday, he called in to the office, and he's like, I want to get half out of the markets, and we tried to talk him out of it. Hey, this is geopolitical. You don't know what Trump's going to tweet next. Like, love him or hate him. Like, you don't know what the next tweet's going to be, right? Whether it's going to be positive or negative. And you shouldn't be making decisions. No. I've got to, okay, dude, at the end of the day, you're the boss, man. Like, we got to do what you say, right?
Sell. So
that was on Thursday or Friday. And then the weekend came, and then, the Monday, it just started all over again. And it's not that I can't empathize with his position. First of all, he was probably more aggressive than he should have been, and we'd had several conversations about that, but everything was going so great, right? Like I said before, no, I'm aggressive. So the Monday came, and it just starts all over again. And he calls in, I've got to get out the rest of the market. I want to sell everything, put everything in cash. And I talked to him personally this time. And I said, hey, this could turn on a dime. Like, you don't know. And you're not going to be fast enough. We're not going to be fast enough to know when this is coming. I mean, nobody does, right? No. And so I probably spent an hour talking with him, trying to walk him off the ledge, and it didn't work. So now he's fully out of the markets, right? The next day was the day the NASDAQ was up. I think it was 12%.
12%, yeah.
12%. That guy locked in a loss of several $100,000. I don't know what happened, because we kind of parted ways, because there wasn't much we could do for him at that stage. I don't know if he probably didn't get back into the markets, because then you look at it and you're like, well, I missed this, so I don't want to get back in. I'm going to wait for it to come back. And, what are we up? 30%, 40% since then, right? A absolute incredibly terrifying example of what you will get if you try and time the markets. And I know I rant on this, but it's such an important topic. There's a guy I really like named Tom Lee. He works for a company called Fundstrat. Great analyst, great researcher, and I really enjoy kind of listening to him. And he put out a piece the other day, and he's talking about this is why individual investors typically do not get anywhere near the returns that they should, right? Listen to this, Randy. This is, when he said this, I was like, that it seems hard to believe. And kind of all the research, I kind of like just, chat GPT. I mean, it seems accurate. He said since 1929, the S&P has compounded about 9%, right? Or the markets in general have compounded about 9%. You'd average about 9%. If you missed the 10 biggest days, which probably that NASDAQ 12% was one of them, right? If you miss the 10 biggest days, your return is negative.
Just Isn't those 10 days. Yeah.
Isn't that shocking?
Wow.
Right? And how confident are you that you're going to be able to pick those 10 days? I'm not.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm in the industry. I've been doing it for decades. I'm not. And I'm just trying to highlight the dangers of trying to time the market. And the final thing I'll say on this is, over and over, we see retirees, they are taking so much unnecessary risk in their portfolio, right? You've saved $1 million, $3 million, $5 million, whatever it is, right? Like a significant amount of money. And that hasn't just happened, right? Like, you've been responsible, you've been diligent, you've invested, you've put money into your 401k and not gone on vacations or whatever it is, you've sacrificed for it. And at this point, like, you've won the game. You're there. Why do you keep pushing it? Why do you keep taking on all this unnecessary risk? Right. And so that's my monologue. I'll turn it back to you.
Well, I think it's so interesting that people want to squeeze as much out of that market as possible, but they don't need to. If Jay were to look at you and say, you can do retirement on 5%, and 5% is not a hard number to get to, but you look at him and say, I want 10, or I want to beat the market. That puts you in a territory that could really put your retirement at risk. Let's sit down and talk about what you really need for retirement, what you really need for growth, what you really need for income, and really find out and home in on that. And And that's what we talk about here on this show. Let's get those questions answered for you. Here's how you can get in touch with Jay and the team at Secure Financial Management. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting. It's exactly what Jay has just talked about. How much do I need to be in that market? What do I need to power my retirement? Let's get you the answers to that. 210-985-6200. That's 210-985-6200, or use the website, which is retire210.com, retire210.com. So a lot of times when we're on this show, Jay and I will talk about people getting ready for retirement, and we'll say, okay, so say you got $1 million. And why do we do that? Because the math is easy for us, at the same time. But you might look at the radio and go, I don't have $1 million. All right, we get that. Most people don't. About 93% of people getting ready for retirement don't have $1 million. But here is a really interesting fact. The average retiree in the United States spends about $60,000 a year. Part of that's going to be Social Security. Part of that's going to be you. Now, if you look at somebody who's got between $1 million and $3 million, how much do you think that they spend per year in retirement? The answer is about $70,000 a year, or a little bit more than that. It's interesting. It's just not that different. That's what people spend. So, Jay, when you sit down and do that math for people and say, okay, you've got this amount, you want to spend this amount, it doesn't seem to be that much different than people who have what we would term as very good wealth.
Yeah, and it's, you hear the kind of stories, right, that everyone's life, regardless of their wealth, and of course there's there's extreme poverty and extreme wealth on there, and if you kind of like knock those ends off, somebody making 100,000, do they live that differently to someone making 500,000? Yeah, okay, they've got a bigger house, maybe they drive a nicer car, but 90% of their life, it's the same thing, right? You're waking up, you're eating breakfast, you go to a restaurant, you have some lunch, you have some dinner, and there's probably some little differences here and there, but from what we see in the office with our hundreds of clients, I would say that's right. People often, when we're doing the planning, one of the questions we'll say is, hey, what do you need for retirement income to live the retirement that you want? And very, very often, I would say 90% plus of the people fall somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, there's a couple of outliers here and there. That's true. But most of them land in that area. And so I know people, we kind of throw around figures like 3 million in a 401k, 5, whatever. Right. And yeah, we get lots of those clients in there like that. But you're right. The majority of people don't have that sort of money. And guess what? There's people retiring every day.
Yep.
And they don't have those figures, and you figure out a way to make it work.
And to know that the money that you're spending is not that different than the people who have what you might term as great wealth, that seems to be not the biggest, hardest part of retirement planning. So let's figure out what you need, and how do we do that? You figure out what you need right now. You figure and kind of put that into the future, put a little inflation with that, figure out what you're going to need for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, add a little bit of raise in that, and there you go. So let's figure that out together. Home in on that number. Let's go through that. Give Jay a call. Let's go through the process of understanding what you need for retirement and start to do that kind of math. Here's the website. Here's the number. It's retire210.com. And when you go there, you're going to see Jay's book. It says Wall Street's Game. And Jay, that book, they can actually go to the website right now. They can download a chapter, kind of get a little taste of what that's all about. But if they come in for an appointment and we start to do the math on their retirement, you're going to give them a copy. So what's the book about? It's kind of your compilation of what happens when somebody comes in and what kind of problems they're dealing with.
Yeah, it's that, and the real reason I wrote the book, people buy it on Amazon all the time, and like you said, we give everybody who comes in from the show a physical copy. I really wrote this to try and help people understand what they're about to get involved in the financial machine, right? And people just, they don't understand it. It's, I think, almost deliberately complex to try and make people struggle, right, to kind of understand exactly what they're going through. Most of the people that read that book, I'll never meet them, but if I can open their eyes to what they're up against, the incentives in the industry that favor the big box companies, some of those advisors out there that are not fiduciaries, not doing the right thing, it's a real eye-opener.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you go to the doctor or the hospital, you get plugged into the healthcare system. That plugs you into the insurance system. You get plugged into these systems. When you go into retirement, you're going to get plugged into the financial system. And what is built out there for your 401k and how to build income and what's out there in healthcare and all that stuff, this is a big system. It's a big monster out there. And to make sure that you don't get taken advantage of or make a wrong step, let's open your eyes to what you're dealing with. And that is in the book, Wall Street's Game. So let's get you a copy of that. Come on in and let's talk through your retirement questions. 210-985-6200 or go to the website retire210.com. So as you save for retirement, Jay, you do your best. You just keep packing money away in that 401k. You do everything you can so that when you get into retirement, you're going to say, hey, I've got some money to spend. Then you start reading. And you hear this. All right, if you have too big an income, your Social Security could get taxed. If you have too big an income, your Medicare premiums could go up. Remember, if you have too big an income and you're taking money out of your brokerage account, there's capital gains. Remember, if you, it just goes on and on and on. So talk to me. Are these things a big deal? I mean, if you have your Social Security taxed in the long run, when you look at it over a period of time, is it a big deal? Your Medicare premium is going up. Is it a big deal when you look at it in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, we've got a bit of a saying in the office, and I've told the guys in the office, I was like, hey, let's not use the word problem anymore. Let's try and make it positive. We'll say an area of opportunity, right? But everyone has some sort of area of opportunity in retirement, even if they have plenty of money, right? So essentially what it breaks down to is, well, there's one very obvious area of opportunity. You don't have enough money to retire, right? I don't like having to deliver that news, but sometimes that's the case. More often than not for us, the people that we get to meet with, they have a different area of opportunity, right? And that area of opportunity is, let's manage this big tax freight train you have coming down the rails at you. And the thing is, most people don't even know it's coming.
Okay.
Right? And so you mentioned Social Security getting taxed. Well, you don't have to have much income before 85% of your Social Security gets taxed, right? I mean, look, just make peace with it, right? Everything else, your IRMA surcharges, jumping up into higher tax breaks because of unplanned RMDs, a lot of that is manageable. And let me paint the picture about how this can go wrong and what could have been done to not end up in this situation. So we have a couple that are clients now. They became clients a couple of years ago. And man, they have been coming to see us for a long time. I don't know, 8 or 10 years, a while. And they'd kind of come and check in and then not move forward. And then they'd circle around a couple of years later and come in. And then out of nowhere, 23, 24, I can't remember when it was. They set an appointment, they come in, and I thought it was the same thing again, right? Just like, well, let's talk about this. And it wasn't that conversation at all. It was, hey, we just want to move all of our money over here. So the money was in the 401k. And they have, if you look at it purely from, do they have the finances and are they comfortable financially? Absolutely. In an incredible situation, right? So they're in their mid-70s now, and they've both got very nice pensions from their former employer. They've got good Social Security. So between the two of them, just in guaranteed income, they've got something like $10,000 a month coming in.
Good retirement.
In addition to that, they've got multiple millions, each of them, in their 401k.
Okay.
And they come in to move their 401k all of a sudden, and as everyone's kind of doing the paperwork, getting this set up, I said, hey, why now? Right? We've talked for a while, right? You've been coming in like 10 since you're in your 60s, basically. And he's like, yeah, I got this thing called a BMR or an RBM, or I was like, you RMD?
There it is.
Like, yeah. He's like, it's an RMD, and it's this big 6-figure distribution, and it's screwing my taxes up, it's screwing my Medicare, and more and more people are learning about IRMA, but a lot of people don't know about it, right? IRMA is just your Medicare surcharge. You're going to have to pay more for your Medicare if you make too much money. And the frustrating thing about that one is that there's not that much we can do now, right? So we should have been planning out that tax strategy. We've got a group of CPAs we work with directly to help our clients with this. We should have been working out that tax strategy the 10 years before.
Yeah.
And we would have been able to get ahead of it. And that one pivot point is essentially affecting 3 or 4 other areas that couple probably will experience for the rest of their lives.
So this is a pretty common problem with people that, many of us have saved money in a 401k, and you for some reason, we think that we should grab that money first, or the Social Security money and all the other money first, and we leave that other money there. And we're going to talk about that a little later on as well. But sometimes that 401k and that tax bill that goes along with it can really screw up a lot of stuff. So it's worth sitting down and talking about. Give Jay a call. You're probably going in with a 401k. At least have this conversation about converting some of that money over a little bit at a time before you get to age 73 or 75 and have that tax time bomb that we talk about. Give Jay a call. Here's the number. It is 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. We're going to close today on a story that I couldn't believe it when I read it, but there's a new sales pitch out there for annuities. It says, if you use a lifetime annuity, you will live longer. Okay, so here's basically what it's talking about. It's citing this study about longevity, and it says stress is a killer, and we all know that. And if you don't have the guaranteed income and the check coming in every month, it adds to some financial stress in many people's lives. Less stress, you'll live longer. That's, I guess, how they put the whole thing together. I don't know. But I guess cutting down on stress in retirement would be a good thing. Buying an annuity, I don't know if that does it, but maybe so. But having the guaranteed income that you like. Talk to me a little bit about lowering the stress level and how you do that for people as they go into retirement.
Well, I'm trying to make sure I don't get this backwards. What is it? Correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. I think that's the way it goes, right? Because there is a study that I'm not a huge football guy. So what are it's NFC and AFC? Is that what it is?
You got it so far. You're doing good.
So there's some sort of stat that and I don't remember which one, right? Maybe it's the NFC.
Yep.
If a team from the NFC wins the Super Bowl, it's going to be a positive year.
For the stock market, right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what they say, right?
Right.
But look, I got to tell you, we talked in an earlier show about the people that they're probably too aggressive with their investments, right? And every day they're on edge, like, oh God, did it go up today? Did it go down today? What did Trump tweet? Is that going to affect me? What's happening in the middle? I've got to imagine that you paint the picture. You're in retirement. You don't have a regular income coming in now. Whatever you've saved, you're going to have to live off for the next several decades that you're retired. And that income is also subject to the whims of geopolitics and economic events. And every day could be a day that you lose a certain percentage of your wealth. That sounds pretty stressful, right? That sounds pretty stressful.
Yeah.
And, and I think where people get lost with this is it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? Some people, when we talk about annuities or guaranteed income, first of all, they don't usually understand it. They have a bad reputation because they've earned it a lot of the time. There's some bad products out there. They're recommended in the wrong way by some advisors. But most people, once they get an education on it, it's like an eye-opener. And they say, well, yeah, I didn't know it worked like this. And between my Social Security and maybe some other guaranteed income, man, if I could have everything I need every month coming in and I don't have to have that stress. And the other money that I want to spend, if I want to do a big trip and we have a big up year in the markets, I can take some of those earnings and I can go on that trip, but I don't have to worry about paying the light bill every month tied to the markets. Man, it's a real eye-opener,
This is the main reason I think it's so good to sit down with a financial advisor, because they can open up to you all of the options out there, explain them, and find the ones that are right for you. And go through retirement with some confidence that the money's coming in that you need per month, the money's coming in that you need for the stuff you want to do. Let's have a plan like that. Give the team a call at Secure Financial Management. Let's talk through that. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting, and all you have to do is give us a call. Let's get a date on a calendar. It's 210-985-6200, 210-985-6200, or use the website, which is retire210.com. And remember to have this podcast delivered straight to your favorite podcast platform by hitting like, follow, or the subscribe button. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.